Welcome to MyUdgard, a series of video about Valheim, an awesome indie game that exploded onto the scene a few months back. After being slain in battle, a Valkyrie brought me to this world as a test before I could revel in the halls of Valhalla. After surviving the first night, I must explore the Meadows to learn what resources and creatures dwell within. This episode will conclude with some of the tools of the trade to be able to finish off collecting resources in the Meadows. And then in a future episode, we'll talk about weapons, food, and armor. I traveled to the water, collected some flint, a bottleneck resource, doing some swimming, which can be dangerous. Be careful, you'll take damage if your action runs out. Now I found some necks. Go ahead and kill them. And did we find mushrooms? Another critical resource. Now we step foot into the Black Forest. We do not want to be in the Black Forest. Run away. Got followed out of the Black Forest by a dwarf. Go ahead and dispatch it. Some of the structures still have chests and loot in it. Basically, in this case, feathers, flint, and coin. Now I'm going to craft a bow using wood and leather scraps so I can go after deer and the beehive. So I went out with my new bow and look at Thor in the sky being pulled on his sled. Now I went after the beehive I marked on the map earlier. Got the precious nectar as well as the queen bee. Now I'm deer hunting. That's a poor man's radar. Miss. And there we go. Last thing I need to get is the skeleton. And here they are at nighttime, of course. Sorry about the lighting. See the yellow? That means that they're vulnerable to that damage. The mace is the weapon to go to when you're fighting skeleton. We'll start talking about crafting with the hoe, which takes stone and wood to make. It's a good tool. We'll talk about that later. To upgrade it, it needs a tier 2 station, which we only have tier 1. If you look at the top right, you can see that. So we're going to upgrade our station. To be able to upgrade our armor, weapons, tools, we need an upgraded station. So we're going to go ahead and do that. If you look on the crafting tab, you can see that there's 2 that have a star. Those are both bound to the workbench. That would make it a tier 2 and tier 3 respectively. We'll start with the chopping block, which takes flint, wood, and a workbench. You need to be mindful of space when you're designing your building because there's a lot of crafting stations and eventually things get rather cluttered. I'm going to put the tanning rack outside because tanning racks stink. Beads of light indicate that it's connecting to the station. It's a tier 3 station, so we're going to go ahead and do our upgrades. Stone and wood again. Got it to tier 2. Go to tier 3. Repeat this for the hammer and the axe. The higher tier in the case of tools means it has more durability, which means you can use it in the field for longer durations before you have to fix it. Okay, now we're going to talk about hoeing, which has nothing to do with my lack of pants. You can see the big circle with the line. That's going to indicate that I'm pushing the dirt up, which happens when you're working your way downhill. When you're pushing uphill, you'll see almost none of that circle, no line. Though hoeing takes a bit of practice, you'll get a feel for it after some time. A tutorial's not going to teach anything. These are going to need an enclosure, so I'm going to put a crafting station down because I'm going to have to break down the existing fencing. The workstation has a radius that you can build and destroy. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take down the existing structure, which wasn't built very well. And I'm going to start building a new one. Now, I use the fence because the walls will make the bees unhappy. The fence posts don't snap together, so you have to kind of finagle them. And finally put a door on there so no critters can get inside. Now we're going to go ahead and build the hive himself, which uses the queen bee, wood, and the workbench. Once they're done, you want to make sure the bees are happy. If they're happy, we're in business. At this point, we have gathered all the resources and fought all the creatures that are in the meadows, except for the Forsaken. That will conclude this video. Please subscribe if you like it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please put it below, and I'll try to keep it in mind in future episodes.